Are we on?
Of course we're on.
What's good?
How y'all doing?
What it do?
What it don't?
What's going on? Welcome to another honest review flick filter. Uh, I'm Big Diesel,
And I'm Coach.
gang gang. But
Yes.
yeah, so ohana
Means family.
and family means nobody's left behind
Or forgotten.
or forgotten.
Yes,
That's
sir.
deep. That's
Mhm.
deep. What's the other one?
Oh, Miga Naga Krista.
Some of y'all will get that if you know you
Mhm.
know.
You know you
But
know.
you should already know what we're already doing. Today we're doing timer.
Lilo and Stitch. Yep. Lilo and Stitch.
Yes. So
Mhm.
live action or animated?
Oh, the live action. Yes, this is the 2025 version. Yes, the 2025 version.
So just we're gonna do interview style. I have not seen it yet, but I've heard some things.
What'd you hear?
Um,
Well, we'll get into that.
we'll get into that. But you have seen it.
I have seen it.
But I have seen the animated, and I'm very a big fan of the animated.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, it's goated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I even have a Stitch keychain, so on my backpack. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Stitch merch be going crazy with the
crazy,
sales.
crazy. So first off, for people who have not seen the animated,
Yeah.
what should we know going into it?
Um. Well, just a quick overview. It's a Disney movie. Came out 2002, I believe. During this, it was a interesting era for Disney, I think, because you had like the Emperor's New Groove.
Fire.
You had
Go check it out. I love that
during
movie.
that era. You had Treasure Planet.
That's
You
a good
had
one.
Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
That's a
They
good
I
one.
think they had a sequel as well.
Eldorado.
Well, I don't think that. I think that's DreamWorks. That's DreamWorks.
Yep.
Yep.
My bad.
And then,
But that's a good one too.
and then also Home on the Range. I feel like a lot of people forgot about that one.
Yeah.
But that was like during the early 2000s.
Like when people think of Disney, they think of the princesses and all that stuff.
Think of Lion King.
Yeah.
Think of Mulan.
And then sometimes Pixar. But for the most part, they think of the Mickey Mouse crew.
Yeah.
And then the princesses.
Mm-hmm.
And then this other era that they tried to switch things up.
Yeah. So the 2000s was an interesting era because it wasn't as many princesses and things. They were trying to do some things differently. And then we also had Pixar that was coming up at the same time because you had Toy Story, which was in the 90s, but then after that you had A Bug's Life, Monsters Inc., Nemo, all those Incredibles. So like that was there was a lot during that era, but I think Pixar overall was maybe overshadowing a lot of things.
Yeah.
But Lilo and Stitch was really huge. I feel like that was probably one of the biggest hits that they had. I don't know in terms. I don't know about the box office, but I know like culturally, Lilo and Stitch was really big. A lot of the kids loved it, and it was around. It came out when I was a kid. So now seeing the people that are my age that are like taking their kids.
I definitely wasn't a kid.
You were kind of.
Kind of.
I think you were like what, a teenager maybe.
Probably.
Yeah. So, yeah, for me, I really enjoyed it. Well, probably one of the, I can't. It's hard for me to tell if it was like, oh, this was a favorite because I really liked most of what Disney was putting out back then. But I really did enjoy it. I really liked the sequels. They had a few sequels. They had.
I did not know about the sequels. I think I grew out of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But the animated series as well.
I know it just basically reminded me of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Got to catch them all.
Yeah, he had basically all of Stitch's cousins were released, and each episode he had to go.
They had different powers and stuff like that.
Yeah, they had to go find them. They were pretty cool. I enjoyed the show. You had pretty much all the characters um, from the original from the movie, the main characters were also in the show, plus like a few other additional ones. But yeah,
But yeah, so what should they know? What is the basis of Lilo and Stitch?
gotcha. So the basis is you've got this super powerful alien who is created by this sort of mad genius scientist. Um, how it opens up. So
And we're talking about the animated
the animated,
right
yeah,
now, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Just to give
um,
you a big
yeah. How it starts off is you got Stitch. He's basically uh, comes to Earth. He's an alien. He comes to Earth and he basically pretends to be a dog and gets adopted by this girl named Lilo. She's pretty alone because she lost her parents. She's being raised by her older sister Nani, and um, yeah, the people that lost Stitch, they're they come to Earth looking to find him. Stitch bonds with Lilo, and they get into some things. It's really a big story as far as like family, kind of like having a found family. Stitch was created for destruction, but he ends up becoming, he wants to be more than just a monster, and
yeah.
wants to do more than just terrorize the the world and stuff like. So, yeah, that's kind of the basis of the story. I feel like it's a pretty like simple story overall, but very heartfelt. You know, really cool animation. They're on Hawaii, and I feel like you get a very like you get a feel for the culture. I don't know. I feel like as a kid that was me. That might have been like my first introduction to like Hawaiian culture, maybe if I'm thinking looking back on it. But yeah, what is your you know I guess was there anything I missed as far as the
Well,
overall?
also got like Nani, her sister, is kind of like raising her, but you got like a big old like kind of you know what is he?
Community?
No, he's
Okay.
like social services
Social
kind of
services,
yeah
social
yeah
worker.
yeah social worker kind of
Oh,
trying to see
Cobra Bubbles.
yes
Yes.
trying to see if Nani is fit to be
The fit to take care of Lilo
yeah
because
yeah
she's struggling. She hasn't been able to keep a job. Um, he's like, yeah, you got to get a job by the end of the week, or we may have to take away Lilo. So it's like a lot of pressure on her to
yeah
be to basically be a mom, even though she's only I think Nani's only like 19 in the movie.
yeah.
So she's still young herself. She's still trying to figure things out herself, while she's also trying to take care of her little sister. So there's a lot of pressure on her.
And then there's kind of a love, you know, thing going on
Oh yeah,
with another guy.
yep.
But yeah, there's basically that's basically it. You
Hmm.
know. So yeah, I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
So now that we got the bases down, um, tell us the differences. Let's say without giving spoilers, tell us the differences of. Wait, for actually, first off, how do you feel about live action?
Okay.
Because we did a couple. We done Mufasa. We done Lion King.
Yeah.
How you feel about
Yeah. So
doing live action?
I I'm kind of mixed. I have kind of mixed feelings about it, um, because they've been on this trend for like the last 10 or 15 years, however many years of doing these live action remakes. But they're not the only ones who have done live action, and they're not the only ones doing live action remakes or just remakes in general. But I think people will look to Disney because they're probably one of the most popular studios doing it, and they're pretty much doing it with all their big hits. Um, but for me, I would say um, there are some that I've liked, but in general, I feel like there's not really a point of doing it. Like, of course, their goal is to make money, but for me, I would prefer if they do a remake to at least add something to it to make it a little different without taking away the essence of it. Because it's like, if I'm going to see a live action remake, I'm not expecting it to be better, but I at least want to see something where it's like, okay, I could have just I could have just went back and watched the original, but it's like I know they do things for the younger generation, but again, it's like they can just watch the old one on Disney Plus. Like I'm sure their parents probably showed them at some point.
So there's two different camps.
Yeah,
There's the parents who grew up wanting, you know, wanting to see basically the same thing, the whole essence of
yeah,
the movie
yeah,
transpired. Now there's going to be some that want
hmm,
a little, just like you, want a
yeah,
little bit difference.
yeah,
But there's some that want to just keep it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now,
yeah,
yes, if there's some stuff that probably could didn't work back then, or you're
hmm,
trying to, modernize it,
yeah,
then yes, do that.
hmm,
But and then there's kids that haven't seen it all, and they're just getting to know these characters.
yeah,
So you don't want a copy paste version,
hmm,
but I mean, don't. There's certain things that we talked about that Lion King took away, and it was like, bro, you took something that was very important,
yeah,
like the Rafiki scene.
yeah,
Uh, so I was just like, really? Like,
hmm,
so my thing is like, I am in the camp of I have the cartoons. I
yeah,
We have the cartoons on Disney Plus.
yeah,
If we don't have kids,
yeah,
but if I did, I would rather just let them watch that.
yeah,
And if you want to do something live action, do
hmm,
something completely original. And I
yeah,
get it; it's a risk, but it's a reason why we don't have a lot of original movies.
yeah,
We talked about that the other day. Like we
hmm,
need to start having a lot of more original movies, but the problem is people don't want to see that. So it's
yeah,
we're kind of in the rock and the hard place. So
hmm,
with that said,
yeah.
um, so um, tell us the similarities and the differences from the animation and the live action.
Okay. Now I'm gonna try as much as I can without spoiling too much,
Yeah.
but one difference, which if you've seen, uh, if you've seen anything on social media, well, uh, there's certain characters that have a different sort of role. So a big difference is Jamba. Um, and the animated movie, he so in both versions he created Stitch. He's been tasked to find him, bring him back. Uh, but Jamba is a little different in the remake, where um, sort of in the movie he's um, I guess you could say he's the villain in this because of the fact that you don't have Captain Gantu, and they chose not to have him in this movie. So Captain Gantu is
Oh man, yeah.
is
Are you serious?
huh?
Are you serious?
What?
No Gantu?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Take,
Um, but yeah. So him not being in this version, a lot of people have complained about. When I saw the movie, I was like, yeah, I do kind of wish he was in there, but they the director did say I guess it was harder as far as doing the CGI for him, or I forget all the explanations for it, but I still feel like they could have included him. But I will say when I went back and watched the animated movie, he's basically in there for like the first 10 minutes, like that first opening scene,
yep.
and then he's in there towards the towards the end.
Yeah.
So I feel like with people's memory of him, they probably think he's in more of the movie than he actually is. Not saying that they were right to not include him, but I could see from the director's perspective as far as like, okay, we got to do all this to with the CGI. It's like we can just cut him
Well,
out.
I would say, and this is my
Yeah.
prediction,
Hmm.
probably save him for a later movie
Yeah.
because Gantu is a Thanos level villain. If, like you can build up to that Gantu, or
Potentially.
if,
Potentially.
we don't know how this is going to do.
Yeah.
Hopefully, more people go see this, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would think they were like, oh yeah, we'll just start off with Jamba and then build them up because there's still a lot of lore. There's the TV shows, there's the sequels, all that
Yeah.
stuff. So again, to probably, and then what's the runtime like, depending on this movie and
like,
then the animated movie.
The animated movie was shorter. The animated movie was like
Yeah,
80 something minutes.
yeah,
It was pretty short. This one was a little longer. It was probably like an hour 45 maybe.
yeah,
So it was a little longer, but
yeah.
they
So
tried to add more stuff with the sisters, and I will say, as far as differences, they did. I guess they changed Nani probably the most in terms of her like motivation. Like she wanted to go to college to study marine biology, so they added that to her. I guess to like give her, they wanted to give her, I guess, goals and dreams outside of more depth. I guess goals and dreams outside of just taking care of Lilo. So I was like, I wasn't mad at that particularly. I know a lot of people were mad about the ending. We can get to that a little bit later, but
yeah,
that was a big change, biggest change. Um, Jamba and Bleakley, they ended up so in the cartoon they would like dress as humans.
Yeah.
But in this movie they actually like physically took the form as humans. So like the actors that played them, they were literally like those actors. So they were actually human in the for part of the movie.
I can see why they changed that.
Yeah.
Because in the cartoon, it's a little more believable that because you had people that bumped into them that were human, they're like, man, that's an ugly, ugly human.
Yeah.
And it's like, ha ha, yeah. But as like a live action, it's a lot less believable.
Yeah, less believable. Yeah.
So yeah, and because they're aliens, it's a lot believable that they can have like technology where they can fully transform.
Yeah.
And look a certain way. So
yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, I think they would look ridiculous and not believable that somebody would pass them off as humans if they were just wearing disguises.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
So, how did everybody's performances go?
The performances. That is another good question. So, I honestly was really impressed with the girl that played Lilo. I don't know if she's been in anything else. I mean, she's pretty young, but I thought she did a great job. Like
she looks like she got the note. They got the nose right.
Yeah. They. I feel like she captured that essence of Lilo. I will say, now this is more of the writing rather than her performance. I feel like she wasn't as like. She didn't have like the same level of outburst that the cartoon Lilo had, where she was beating up Myrtle. Myrtle was still in there, but I feel like
I love that part.
Yeah, Myrtle wasn't as much of a jerk in this version. I feel like they tried to like tone her down. They were still her and her friends were still like mean, I guess.
Yeah, bullies.
But I feel like they probably didn't want. Maybe they didn't want that as much to like I don't know send a message for little kids. Maybe that was the reason.
Hey man, we saw, Lilo throwing hands.
Yeah.
In the cartoon, and we turned out great.
Right.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And
I get it.
Yeah, and I think like with Lilo, the actress that played her, I think she did a great job doing like what they wanted her to do, and I think she and the actress that played Nani, I feel like they had really good chemistry. Also,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could believe that they were sisters. At least in my opinion. And then Nani, she did well. The actress, I felt like she was definitely believable. I think she felt more like a kid, or almost like I felt like she felt closer to like 19 years old, or however, like a college age student.
Yeah, she looked like she was maybe early 20s in the
Yeah,
cartoon.
yeah. In the cartoon, I felt like yeah, I was gonna say early mid 20s. I would have thought Nani was. I could have believed that Nani was Lilo's mom in the
Yeah,
cartoon if I
yeah,
didn't know that
like a
she was a sister.
younger mom.
Yeah, yeah.
But how about Jumbo and Plinkly and Bubbles
Okay, so
and Stitch?
Jamba. The thing with Jamba that threw me off the most was that he didn't have a Russian accent, and so I don't think the actor did bad, but it was like when I was watching, I'm like, dang, this isn't Jamba really. Like, I feel like that was the part that threw me off the most,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, Jamba's supposed to sound like this and supposed to do this, and also his character was a little different because he did that thing where because he was pretty much the main villain rather than Gantu, so it was like you're wait. Even though I already knew that going into the movie, so I was kind of waiting for it to be like, oh, he's gonna end up helping Stitch at the end, but um,
That's an amazing
yeah,
part too,
yeah,
where he's like, "You want me to help you after all you did?" And he's like, "Okay,
okay, yeah,
yeah, okay,
yeah,
okay."
yeah. So that he was different in that. Pleakley though, I feel like Pleakley did great. The actor,
Okay.
I think he did great. I feel like he captured the essence of the cartoon version of that character, even though he was a little different. But he had this big fascination with Earth and studying Earth, and he definitely had like a different motivation from Jamba, and seeing them play off of each other, that was pretty fun. Um,
And then in the cartoon, Blinkley
yeah,
is like he dresses up as a woman. So,
yeah, he
yeah,
sometimes would cross dress, and
yeah, yeah,
people were I saw people complaining about the fact that he didn't do that in the movie.
yeah.
Um, but I feel like that was more so in the TV show. I mean, I know he did in the
Oh
original
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he did in the movie.
Bubbles.
Bubbles. So yeah, Bubbles was Courtney B. Vance. He did really well.
He's a
Again,
good actor. He's
he's
in some
a great
stuff.
actor. Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff. Yeah, he did well. Again, the character was a little different because he was you already knew going like he was it CIA? So he's CIA but posing as uh, a child, I think CPS agent. But you already knew that, so it wasn't like so we knew this, but the
They didn't.
they did know
Yeah,
that.
okay.
So he was a little different, but I think it still worked overall. He was good. I will say they added another character though. Um, the actual CPS agent, who was played by the actress that originally voiced Nani.
Okay.
So that was an interesting addition, I would say. But she did well. She did really well. Her voice actually sounds pretty similar to how she did years ago. But yeah, she did well. It was different because you had that additional character she was checking in on Lilo multiple times. So I felt like she.
But you couldn't have game two.
Amen. You know.
I'm just saying.
Amen,
I'm
amen.
just saying.
I feel like she kind of took on the role that the original Bubbles had, because Bubbles, the original Cobra Bubbles in the cartoon, was that like,
Sympathetic type. He didn't
yeah,
want to take away.
yeah,
But he had a job to do.
yeah, he had the job.
So
to
what
do.
was the point of the regular Bubbles?
The regular one was also was he was undercover at CIA because he was, I guess, trying to find extraterrestrials. And yeah, it's a little, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
See why it changes? Yeah.
But in the but I'll also go back to the in the cartoon that Bubbles, he was already familiar with
Yeah.
aliens
Yeah.
because he had ended up the one at the end when she
Yeah.
came to Earth. She was like, I
Yeah.
remember you. She's like, so it was almost like a Men in Black type
Yeah.
thing.
I was about to say that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did Stitch?
Ah, good old Stitch. I feel like we didn't talk about Stitch that much. Stitch, I think Stitch was pretty great. Like he looked like Stitch, sounded like him. I think it was the
Yeah,
same
it's the same
actor,
actor. Yeah.
same actor,
Same actor.
who I think was also the co-director of the original movie. So they had,
Oh, I didn't know that.
people from the. I like how they used people from the original to come back. I know I'm kind of jumping around, but yeah, Stitch did. I think Stitch was great. Yeah, I feel like there wasn't too much of a difference with Stitch. I feel like with Stitch, it's like you can't really mess him up as long as you,
Yeah, you can't.
as long as well, you probably can't. As long as I think because they got the same voice actor and because they made him look good. I think it
Did
worked.
you not remember Sonic?
That's different. They
No,
Stitch,
that the animation wise.
but they fixed him.
Yeah, thankfully.
But I'm saying
I'm just
Stitch.
saying you can mess it up.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can mess it up.
yeah,
I'm just saying that's all.
yeah.
But
Another side note, real quick: the actor that played the original actor that played David, because David's also in this movie,
okay,
but the original actor that played David also had a cameo.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Was
look out for
David
that.
in there?
Who?
David.
Yeah, he was in it.
Okay.
The love interest. Yeah, he was in it
Okay.
as well.
Okay. So overall, what? How do you feel? Was there anything that like you thought they should have done better, or like what's your overall review?
Um. So okay, we're kind of going back and forth because I enjoyed it. Like while I was watching it in the theater, I was like, "This is good." Like I felt the emotional beats. You know, I felt like they did an overall good job. I know a lot of people have been like trashing it, but I was like, I felt like they did a fine job. I would say though, in my opinion, I don't think it was necessary. Like for me, after seeing it, I was like, this was nice, but it's like I probably could have waited for Disney Plus for this. But I also know like it's gonna make a ton of money, which I hate that that's like such a big motivation
I
for
heard a lot
studios.
of people were saying that this is just a cash grab, though.
Probably, I mean, it's Disney. Yeah,
My
I
point.
mean, yeah,
So
it's Disney.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my point is, do you feel like people should fall into just the cash grab and go see this, or they should wait for streaming? Because
Um.
you know how we feel about supporting everything
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But there is certain things to where if this is just a straight up cash grab to just you know
I would say if you have kids, like if you're someone, okay, there's a couple things. If you're someone who is, you're a strong, like a big fan of the original, and like that's a movie that you've seen a ton of times and you can quote word for word, you'll, and you really believe in the themes of the original and don't want any changes, then you probably, there's a good chance you may not like it. The more I think about it, because of especially there are things that happen towards the end of the movie that I kind of want to talk about, but there are things that they do change that I feel like, me personally, I feel like people have kind of overreacted to, but um, I I do kind of get why they are upset, even though I'm like I just have a different opinion, at least from how I interpreted the way it ended. Um, but I'm saying all this to say, if you're somebody that wants a very faithful adaptation, then it's like you may not enjoy it. But if you're someone that has kids and you're like, you know what, I like Lilo and Stitch, I want my kids to see it, or take my younger cousins or whomever to go see it, they may like it. Um, but
I would rather you know save my money and let them watch the original on streaming.
Yeah.
Save a few bucks.
Okay.
You know, that's what I would feel like.
Yeah.
If you, my thing is, if you're gonna do it right. You can make little tweaks here and there to change it up a little bit. Marvel does this all the time. DC does it all the time. But at the same time, when you take away the core premise of the movie, it's not the same movie. Give or take.
Well, yeah. So that's funny you brought up Marvel in DC because now this is something I've thought about for a while, and I feel like this can be a totally different discussion. But I feel like people give a certain level of leeway with superhero stuff where they'll have hundreds of versions of Spider-Man or Batman, Superman, whomever, and they'll have very different ways of their origin story. Of course, they'll have the certain canon events that always happen, but it's like they've got all these different versions of them, and they're allowed to exist. But then when you change a movie like Lilo and Stitch, then everyone gets upset. So why is that able to?
Hold up. So people aren't upset at Ironheart.
That's different.
People aren't upset at Miles Morales, the new Captain America.
That's
no,
different.
You're going off the same thing.
No, I'm
because
it's different because those are different. Those are different characters taking that.
So you're talking about multiverse.
I'm talking about like
multiverse.
How they have multiple versions of Clark Kent. Like they've got all these
multiverse.
Well, in a sense, like how they have like Smallville, I guess My Adventures of Superman.
That. Okay.
So it's like these literally different versions, not in the same universe.
Okay.
Literally different versions of the character.
My bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm getting it. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Mm. Actually, some would say, it gets kind of convoluted. Like even definitely towards me, they're talking about how, because they had in the Flash Ben Affleck, they had, George Clooney, you had all those people kind of coming together. My thing is, one needs to be just we need to know which one is the main one.
Okay.
Especially if you're building out a universe.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have 70 different Supermen running around, it's like, okay, which one goes to what continuity?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, I mean, we could go on and on.
We could, yeah. That's what I was saying. It can go. This could be a very long discussion, but it is something
I get what
I'm
you're saying.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but okay.
Yeah.
But I was saying, Anyways, back on subject. But what would you review this?
Like rating wise?
Yeah.
I maybe like out of 5. Maybe like 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing crazy. Nothing. It was not bad. It was. Yeah. I thought
What
it was
do you
cool.
rate the animated?
Oh, that might be a perfect movie. That might be a 5.
Low key.
Yeah.
Low key.
Animation, voice acting, story, all that was classic.
Okay.
But
still holds up.
Yeah. Can I talk about the ending real quick?
Careful for spoilers if you don't want to know the ending.
Yes, because this is something that a lot of people have been going
so hold up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay.
Okay, so the Earth blows up at the end. The aliens destroy the Earth. All right, let's get out of here. No. Yeah. So a lot of people have been complaining about is that Nani basically gives up Lilo at the end.
What?
Yeah. And she gives up Lilo so she can go off to college and study marine biology in California. I forget exactly where, but It's a really good school, good program, and her people basically she wanted to stay with Lilo, but then I guess the her neighbors and the people were like, yeah, you should go. Like this is your dream. You wanted to study this, and they basically offer to help watch over Lilo while she's in school. So when
So
people
she doesn't give her up to social services.
nah see
Oh, okay,
people
okay.
so that's the
Yeah,
thing.
you almost had me. You almost
So
had me.
see,
I
this
was
is
like,
the thing, right? Where people were complaining, like, "Oh, she gave him up to social services," and people they was like, "She abandoned." She was like, "Ohana means family," and she abandoned her. And I was like, "So," and this was I was reading this before I saw the movie, so I was going into it like, "Dang, she gonna give her up." But then it was literally like she was staying with her her neighbor and David, so it wasn't like she's giving her up to random people. And then like in the post credit scene, so basically they were rebuilding the house. Cobra Bubbles was over at the house helping watch her too. And then like in the post credit scene, Nani and Lilo were on FaceTime, and then literally because they got the portal gun, so she uses the gun and steps back in, so she's literally like with Lilo at the end. So I'm like, bro, y'all
and then
complaining. She's
there's summer vacation, and
yeah,
when school's out and
when
stuff like
school's
that.
out, but
Yeah,
she literally has the thing to literally transport herself back to Lilo at any time. So I'm like,
they might
y'all.
have just rage walked out
I'm wondering if
of
they
it.
did that because
Yeah,
I'm like, did y'all actually see that part? Because I'm like, were we watching a different movie?
yeah.
So
They
I'm
might have rage quit.
yeah.
And here's another thing. They probably didn't know there was a post credit scene.
So this was a mid credit. That was
Mid
even like all the way. It was like maybe a minute into the credits when they showed that.
People don't know.
Did,
If they don't know, they're trying to beat traffic. They're trying to do this. They I'm not
yeah,
excusing it, but I'm just
yeah,
saying they're. If you don't know, like I don't even stay,
hmm
unless I specifically know. Like Marvel and DC, it's
yeah,
kind of a go-to.
hmm
But if it's anything else, unless I hear from another reviewer that,
yeah.
oh yeah, there's a post-credit scene or a mid-credit scene,
hmm
I'm pretty much walking out right when the credits.
Gotcha.
So
I like to wait at least a little bit because I don't like walking over other people, and
yeah,
I'm gonna wait at least a bit. I may end up looking up to see like, I wonder if there are any credits, post credit scenes, and then once I see like pretty much everybody's out, I'm like, okay, once I'm pretty sure, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can leave.
so okay, all right.
That was basically it.
Well, anyways, that is our review.
Yep.
So post your comments down below. Let us know what you think. Which do you think they should do a live, like keep doing live actions, or do you think it's just a waste of money? They should do something else.
Yeah.
Put it in the comments below.
hmm
Again, comment, post,
Comment,
share with your friends.
subscribe, tell us what they
Subscribe.
should remake. Tell us if they should, you know, make something that, let's say it's a movie that uh, wasn't as big that you feel like, oh, this actually could have been better if they remake it. So, let us know.
Let us know. And as always, eat, pray, love,
Something like that.
something like that. Yeah. Anyways,
Ohana.
see, Ohana. See you in the next one.
Peace.